This is the story of a little town known as Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh connection. Are the Freemasons or Illuminati operating in the Steel City? Let us explore this. Pittsburgh is one of America's oldest cities. The village of Pittsburgh was established in 1759, and the history of the city of Pittsburgh began. Pittsburgh 1750. Pittsburgh 1817. Pittsburgh 1849. Pittsburgh 1902. Pittsburgh 1961. Pittsburgh 2011. Pittsburgh's famous skyline, with a pyramid influence. Pittsburgh sits on a pyramid, called the Golden Triangle. The Golden Triangle is where the famous Fort Pitt once stood. In the 1700s, the French were the first European settlers to come to the Pittsburgh area. When the British learned that the French had settled in the area, a young Major George Washington was sent to demand their withdrawal. When the French refused to leave, Washington returned with troops to evict them. However, the British garrison was defeated. It was not until the French and Indian War that the British managed to capture Fort Duquesne and construct a larger fort on the same site. They named the new burg Fort Pitt, after William Pitt, an elder British statesman. Fort Pitt Blockhouse, the only part of the fort that still stands today. Plaque reads, Forks of the Ohio, Fort Pitt Blockhouse, has been designated a national landmark. The site possesses national significance in commemorating the history of the United States. Written history of early Pittsburgh stresses her military and business advantages. When George Washington first viewed the site of Pittsburgh, he said that the land was extremely well situated for a fort, because it had absolute command of both rivers. From 1754, when the first English Fort Prince George was begun at the point to the present time, Pittsburgh's history is a succession of developments in business and industry. George Washington was a Freemason. In fact, nearly all the founding fathers were. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, and James Monroe, as well as many of America's presidents and leaders. Harry Truman, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, Let's get back to Pittsburgh. According to Svarli, an ex-Illuminati programmer, the Illuminati came into the United States through Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and spread across the country from there. Pittsburgh is the spiritual center for the Illuminati in America. Many things started in Pittsburgh, such as some of the first business and industry, headed by some of the most well-known names in America, such as George Westinghouse, founder of Westinghouse Electric Company; Andrew Carnegie, founder of Carnegie Steel; Andrew Mellon, American banker and industrialist; H. J. Heinz, founder of Heinz Industries; H. J. Heinz Company, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh was called home by many famous pioneers in science, journalism, and medicine, including Nellie Bly, American journalist; Rachel Carson, marine biologist and author; Robert Fulton, inventor of the steam engine; Dr. Jonas Salk, founder of the polio vaccine; Thomas Statzel, surgeon, and expert on organ transplanting; Frank Conrad, father of American radio. His work led to the start of KDKA Radio, the nation's first radio station still broadcasting in Pittsburgh today. Conrad Marguerites, at his garage workshop here in 1919 to 1920, Conrad made broadcasts over his amateur station, 8XK, which introduced the concept of commercial radio, and led to the start of KDKA. For 37 years a Westinghouse engineer, he held over 200 patents. And Dr. Cyril Wecht, world-renowned forensic pathologist. Also, many famous artists, actors, performers, and political figures are, or were, from Pittsburgh. Like Andy Warhol, American artist; Michael Keaton, actor and comedian; Christina Aguilera, American pop performer; George Benson, 10-time Grammy Award-winning music performer; as well as Ron Paul, Texas congressman and presidential candidate; and Vice President Joe Biden, native of Scranton, Pennsylvania, just outside Pittsburgh. Just to name a few. Westinghouse, Carnegie, and Mellon are names of well-known business, industry, banking, learning institutions, libraries, museums, etc., but the names are only trust holders of the true ownership, to hide who truly owns them. A family by the name of Pashur, who incidentally own just about everything in the United States, see Pandora's Box by Alex Christopher. After the death of Louis Cass Pashur, who came to the U.S. from France in the 1800s and started buying up land from the government, a man by the name of Leroy Springs found Pashur's holdings, and claimed them for himself and family. Official history tells us that these men were self-made, when in fact, they were not. The idea was to make it look like different people owned these industries, when in reality, it was one man, Louis Cass Pashur. Most Americans should ask, who is Louis Cass Pashur? One of the most secret and powerful families in North America has been the Pashur family. They have been so powerful that they could hide their wealth and power, and use other satanic families as proxies. The Pashurs are one of the top 13 Illuminati bloodline families. Some of the men who worked for the Pashurs include J.P. Morgan, Andrew Carnegie, the Vanderbilts, and John D. Rockefeller. These men were selected to run payshore companies because they belonged to the satanic elite. The Leroy Springs family acquired payshore family companies in the 1920s. It was Leroy Springs who managed to get the Rothschilds involved with the Federal Reserve. Louis Cass Payshore, multi-billionaire of the 1920s. The Payshore family, 1920s. Leroy Springs, acquired payshore family companies in the 1920s. The relevance of explaining the true history of America here is to show the viewer that it is directly related to the history of Pittsburgh, which we will explain further as we move along. Moving on. Large coal deposits were discovered early in the 19th century. Pittsburgh's central location along trade routes helped to make the city an industrial center. When steel, iron, and glass production began, thousands of immigrants poured into Pittsburgh to work in the mills and coal mines. From 1870 to 1970, Pittsburgh led the U.S. in the production of steel, iron, glass, and coal mining. Through the centuries, the city's environment began to suffer. The air was filled with soot, the buildings were covered in grime, and the rivers became polluted. World War I and II brought an increased need for the very products that were destroying the quality of life in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Dubbed the Smoky City in the 1800s, as well as Hell, with the lid off. This is actually a shot from the 1940s of downtown Pittsburgh at night. The street lights are on, lighting the way through the dense smog. By the 1970s, Pittsburgh mills lost ground to foreign steel mills, and many closed. The impact of massive unemployment, coupled with the recession, were devastating to Pittsburgh's economy. In the late 1970s, revitalization and the greening of Pittsburgh became priorities for city leaders, and marked the beginning of the Pittsburgh Renaissance. Gradually, the economy shifted to education, medicine, technology, and tourism. As the Renaissance continued, modern skyscrapers replaced slums. Today, Pittsburgh is home to the Carnegie Mellon University Robotic Institute, and is one of the top robotics cities in the world. The University of Pittsburgh is a recognized organ transplant center and top medical school. The Renaissance has paid off. Pittsburgh is cited as one of the most livable cities in the U.S. Note, has now been cited most livable multiple times. Fluoride. Fluoride, we all have heard of it. We are told it promotes the health of our teeth, yet no evidence exists which proves this without fail. Alcoa, Aluminum Company of America, is based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Sodium fluoride is a waste product of the aluminum making process, and it goes right into America's water supply. In 1939, Alcoa transferred its sodium fluoride technology to Germany, in order to make certain populations stupid, and docile, or more easily controlled. For more information on sodium fluoride, and Alcoa's technology transfer to Germany before World War II, please visit the following website. Pittsburgh was in the spotlight in 2009, as the G20 summit meeting was held there, and it was a great opportunity for the Illuminati to test their new acoustic weapon for crowd control. Pittsburgh spent $18 million on new equipment for police, including vehicles, tear gas, acoustic weapons, riot gear, etc. That equipment was stored in a warehouse after the summit, to be used one day again for sure.